There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the second Talking the Tightrope. I'm James Fernandez. I'm the man to blame here at Tightrope. I'm the reason you're sad while you're watching this video. And joining me tonight is my guest, Ms. Renee Daw. Renee Daw will be joining us as Emily in the production of Apotheosis prologue, but only if you are the person that helps make this happen. Right now, we just got another donor tonight, bringing us to 17 total donors and $860. Far cry from the 25 grand that we need, but we still have roughly 21 days left technically right now, and it's completely possible. I've seen projects get more in a smaller amount of time, but it's only going to happen if you help us bring it to life. This is an opportunity to not just make cool videos. This is an opportunity to actually help hire people. You know, you're going to be helping pay Renee's rent, her utilities. You're helping her pay her bills doing what she loves to do, which is acting. And you're also helping out cast, crew. You're helping all sorts of people out. If we have to get craft services, you're helping people get paychecks. And all the stuff that goes with that. This isn't just, you know, I put the money in my back pocket and go have a sweet party. Because I suck at parties, and I would leave my own party if I ever started one. So that would just be a waste of money. That'd be sad. How are we doing, Miss Renee?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming with us tonight on this little adventure and talk show fun on YouTube.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. No one ever wants to talk to me.
Well, I guess we have something in common, because no one ever wants to talk to me. That's why I arranged a talk show. It's the only way I could convince someone to give a crap for long enough. You know how it is. You probably don't know how it is.
I should have done this myself.
Well, now you just cut the middleman out of it, and this whole endeavor is useless. That's awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Renee Daw. Renee Daw hails from Alaska, the 49th state to join the Union. And whereabouts in Alaska do you come from?
Yes, I hail from Eagle River. It's about 18 miles, no, about 15 miles north of Anchorage, which is like our big city. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of songs, like a lot of songs and movies talk all about the bright lights of Anchorage.
Yes, yeah. I believe the song Journey, City by the Bay, is about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Sure, I will go along with that.
Has nothing to do with San Francisco Bay whatsoever.
I think Frank Sinatra also did a song about that called Anchorage, Anchorage.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
One of his smaller hits, but he did do it. He was probably drunk, if we're going to be honest. But, I mean, they pretty much were during that era.
You had to be if you were part of the Rat Pack.
That is true. Well, and if you were hanging around with Joey Bishop, you had to be. True. That's very true. Go ahead and tell us what got you into acting. When did the bug hit for Renee?
Whoa, jeepers. I think I was itty-bitty, and I think my first sentence that my parents said that I said was popcorn in a movie. I loved watching movies, and I loved eating popcorn. And so I was obviously very dramatic. I was always being somebody different all the time. And then I did my first church play. Our church did about 2 plays a year, and my first play I did, I was a baby gorilla. And I
remember the part of the Bible with the baby gorilla well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's important. I can't remember, I think my line was like, hey everyone, no monkeying around, or like, no monkey business, and I had one line, and the crowd just like cracked up. They thought it was hilarious, and I remember at that moment I was like, what? I made them all laugh. I loved it. And ever since then, I think I was about 10, maybe younger. I realized my parents are like, you know, acting is a profession. You can pursue this, you know, as a job. And I was like, what? This isn't true. And so ever since then, I just been involved in as much as I can get my hands on, or people that will take me. taking classes, and man, so it's been, I guess, over 17 years.
Nice. I
Oh,
was just
gee.
about to ask, yeah, how long you've been acting for? 17 years. That's not bad. That's a pretty sweet career so far.
Yeah, of course, I think like every person who pursues something, like an obsession or a passion, they wish they were further along than they are at the moment you ask them, of course. But I'm happy with every step that has been taken and where I am now. It's weird. I love the struggle of it, and I love the challenge, and I love uh, accomplishing something, and you can't really fail if you don't, if you try, you can't fail. So
Yeah, do or do not. There is no try.
there is no try.
I think Winston Churchill said that. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check.
Absolutely. Yep, I believe you're correct on that.
Yeah, do or do that. I just love it. Actually, Yoda kind of does look like he was based on Winston Churchill in certain light, so it actually would make more sense than I thought.
Well, the cigar smoking should give that away. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. If we know one thing about Yoda, it's that he was stricken with cancer but used the Force to beat it. So, I mean, kind of he cheated, really, is what it is. All right, so tell us a little bit about your acting career now. When did you move to Los Angeles permanently?
Yes, I moved to Los Angeles in 2012, October 2012. And I've been here ever since. So it'll be 2 years this October.
I've seen some of the short films and stuff that you've done like that. What have been some of your favorite short films, some of the work that you've done, something that we can point the audience toward to let them see how Renee likes to play?
Oh man, that is like the worst question because every project I've been involved in, regardless of the end product, I've loved to be a part of. I would suggest the short film I did up in Alaska, directed and written by Matt Jordan, called Scare. I would direct them towards that one. You can find that, I believe, on YouTube and Vimeo. Also, Pretty Little Victim. That was one of my favorites short films that I've done because I got to play something that wasn't like the nerdy girl next door or anything like that. Like it was a little bit more of a different thing I get to play. So I was excited about that one. And that one is written and directed by Paul Jones, and that one's called Pretty Little Victim. There's a film that is it's currently in post-production that I flew down to New Mexico to do, written and directed by Dave Witt for Scary Little Films, called Doc. So it's not out yet, but when it is, I'll send the link. But I play a medic, an army medic with PTSD, and it kind of goes through her journey going through that. So unfortunately, I can't watch that one. So haha. But when it comes out, you will.
Hey, that's cool. No, well, the ones that you mentioned that are already out, we'll put links down below in the comments area, and in the information box, that way people can click on them and check them out. I've seen some of your stuff. I saw Pretty Little Victim and things like that. Really fun. So I don't want to ruin it either. I know why you're being a little bit vague about it, but it's a really fun term, and it actually led us to something I did want to talk to you about. And that is typecasting, because you said it yourself. You weren't put in as like a nerd or a dork or like neurotic or anything. One of the things that I'm doing that I consciously chose to do when casting for Apotheosis was there's this the current right now for doing a half-hour and hour-long shows is very much if you just click onto like any given show on CW or really even the major networks. Well, poke fun at the CW because they seem to have casts that are all within 2 to 2.5 years of each other in age, and they have a propensity for putting 27-year-olds as 16-year-olds in their high schools, which has always been, they've been doing that since forever, but it's always been funny to me. What was that?
They're always gorgeous. They're all pretty people.
Always, always. I think the ugly ones get executed in the city, like right at the city limits where there's no cameras in these magical worlds. But one of the things that I sort of want to do with Apotheosis is I wanted to intentionally break that kind of typecasting mold. I wanted to put actors into situations that you wouldn't normally expect them in, and that actually brings us to the character that you would play, which is Emily Byrne, because right now there is very much this specific trope for a spy, and it is this extremely handsome dude or this extremely sexy woman who walks around as the most obvious stick-out person in an entire room, and we're supposed to believe that they're covertly hiding among the public and no one will notice them moving around and doing things.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit. I imagine you've experienced some of the typecasting before. It's not. In some cases, there are negatives to it. In some cases, some of the positives are it can lead to steady work, but you get kind of stuck in a rut. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the effective typecasting.
Pretty much, especially for me, I'm a goofy person. I don't take myself seriously, and that just shows through. So people a lot of times they're like, oh, well, Renee, we love you to play so-and-so because she's the best friend or she's the girl next door, which is great to always be thought of, like, in someone's mind. They're like, you're a name, and you're like, that's awesome. I've encountered it a lot where I guess just in industry types, they're like, oh, yeah, like, I have this role you would be really great for, and you read it and you're like, well, I can do this in my sleep. I want something to challenge me. I like something that pushes me, as a person. The reason why I like acting, it's so weird, but every character I've played has taught me something good and bad about myself. So really it's a very, I guess you could call it an egocentric type thing, but I enjoy learning about myself in these different scenarios and playing these different characters. Because I'm always like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have reacted like that. That seems kind of harsh or something. You learn a lot about yourself as a person. A lot of times people are like, well, would you ever take like the nerdy girl next door as a recurring role on a TV show? And I was like, absolutely, because that's a challenge within itself, is to take a character and to expand it. Just because they write it in one way doesn't mean that I can't take it and develop it into something new with every episode. That's a challenge all in itself, but if you watch my demo reel, you'll see that everything up there is completely different. I try to do a different role, if it's the same role, I try to add something different to it every time, at least. To expand on a world that you only get to play so very, such few times. It's important to put as much into it as you can, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I would probably imagine that playing that sort of nerdy next door type character is actually probably more fulfilling in a long-form series than if it happens in a bunch of different movies. Because at least with the series, you get the series will go on for years, and eventually they'll rotate to the character to give something new or something different. I mean, if we go for some of the most stereotypical nerds ever, Urkel eventually got Stefan in Family Matters, and there was a point where it was just, for the longest time, it was just, did I do that, and trip, fall, crash, boom, and then Reginald VelJohnson shakes his fist at the nerd. But they started doing little things. I imagine if Jaleel White kept getting cast in movies as the exact same character, I don't know if it would be as satisfying, because you don't get the time you need to sort of expand that character. What do you think? You agree? You disagree?
I agree completely. I actually remember the episode of Urkel where Urkel takes off his glasses. And, like, I remember even as a little girl, like, that trick totally worked on me. And I was like, oh, he's actually cute, and like, to this day, like, I cannot forgive myself for falling for it. Not that he's not, I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? Like, it totally worked on me, where they're like, nerdy dork, and then they're like, glasses off, and you're like, oh, and I can't believe I fell for it, but I think it's true. I think also playing a recurring character is a challenge in itself, to stay so involved in that world and to keep that world alive, for such a long period of time, whereas on a feature, depending on the shooting schedule, you're only keeping the world alive for I mean, obviously a shorter amount of time, which is not as difficult, you know. And it's not. I think it's not as fulfilling because, especially for something that you can play in your sleep, you know, because you're like, oh, I don't really, you know, I got this, you know, versus like, all right, I'm really gonna really apply myself this time, you know. Um,
Sure.
yeah, I like challenge. Maybe I'm a masochist. I don't know, but the harder the better, I guess.
So thank you tonight for joining us for Renee Daw Psychoanalyzes Herself.
Sorry, it's my therapy session.
No, that's fine. I should have dressed like Sigmund Freud. And should I start asking you about your mother, or I don't know?
Yes, you should ask me about my mother. Yes.
Yes, tell me about your mother, because I'm sure this is exactly how Dr. Freud talked all the time.
And I agree. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, if you ever watch Star Trek The Next Generation, I actually liked the Sigmund Freud that they had in a couple episodes on the holodeck. And one of them was Data's dream sequence. And it was so funny because they kept putting in very Freudian stuff, but it was science fiction, and he was just being Dr. Sigmund Freud, German psychologist. And it's like, man, that guy was crazed with sex and did a lot of cocaine. A lot of cocaine.
And I like how it was data that he was analyzing. That's
Because
great.
that was the most, yeah, that was the most neutral way to do it. Because it's like he's just an android, and it's like, but that android did it with Tasha Yar, so let's calm down here. He's fully functional. We know that joke and that wink. Anyone who saw that show knows that gag.
Yuck, 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 yuck.
All right, so when it comes to you playing Emily, this is the point where the people that are watching this, tell them why why you accepted the role. You went through the audition process. We had a crazy audition process. There were some actors that I invited, and then there were some roles where I just didn't have someone in mind, and I did this long auditions process. You joined us through that. I went through, in the course of 14 days, I went through 62 hours of Google Hangouts and Skype calls to do all the auditions, and that was the level of auditions over and over, all the way down to the finals. But in the end, you had a chance to read the pilot script, and then you were offered the role. Why did you accept it? And it's always strange for me to say, but I really want to make as a point, this isn't Kiss James's ass time. You already got the role.
Oh,
you don't need to worry about job security. But just, tell the audience, someone that might potentially consider donating to the show, why did you accept the role? Why do you want to be part of this little play I have here?
Yeah, what struck me first off is a chance to play a physically demanding role in itself is something that I love to do. The second is that the layers that you've written into the character, just based on the description I got through the casting notice, intrigued me, because a lot of times it's like, they're like an assassin with a heart of gold, and like all this kind of stuff, and they kind of overplay their hand. It's very heavy-handed on one end of the spectrum or other. And I liked that you wrote a female character that had her life. I shouldn't say life. Life is the non-expletive word I was going to use. Has it together, basically, and she's a female, and she has a career, and she has baggage, but she's managing it all. I also enjoyed the breaks that I got to see in her, even in the pilot that I got to read. I liked the dialogue of her. I liked how she presented herself. I like how she was presented. She was something also I felt like there was a lot left for me to develop myself. Writers are fantastic because they put their world onto paper, and we, as actors, are lucky enough to get to play them. And I feel like great writing allows the actor to be like, ooh, I can pick this up, I got this. Let me create, let me build on what you have given. And I feel like the base of Emily was written very, very well. I am going to enjoy playing her and developing her into something off of paper.
Yeah, it's all about that third dimension. I know how that is. I'm really eager to see if I can bring all these sheets of paper to life. It's definitely something I want to do. One of the things when it came to developing characters like Emily was not just to break typecasting, but it was also to sort of it's not even about an idea like social justice. For me, it was more of I've challenged myself to say, here's the kind of stuff that this particular type of character doesn't necessarily do or expose of themselves emotionally, stuff like that. And for a lot of intelligence and spy characters, usually it's always sort of this life of, James Bond set the archetype, and it's almost like we can't break that archetype ever. You know what I mean? We're very set in our way of, this super, if it's a guy, he's this super badass guy whose jaw is always clenched. He always has this dark history secret in his soul, and his soul's rotting away, but he just smokes another cigarette while staring out a hotel window, in the middle of the night, thinking in his head like it's a noir novel in the 40s. Basically, everything feels like it's Sin City. And then for female spies, the trope is always this super gorgeous, overtly sexy woman who always walks in the most fabulous dress possible, that you can totally pick out of a crowd, because all the extras around them just look like average to sort of, above average. And, it's like Angelina Jolie is a spy. And I'm like, how is someone not going to notice this woman floating through a ballroom?
Right.
Are you shitting me right now? Like, it looks like 25 Angela Lansburys are walking through this lobby, and then there's only her, and then there's 25, Ernest Borgnines, and you're telling me, oh, she blends in, no one noticed anything was going on. So I wanted to make a conscious choice, and I wanted to be like, here's what they do. Try, James, figure out what else they can do instead. Do something different. What don't they do? So one of the biggest challenges with Emily was I wanted to break that trope. And you're not the only one. We also have another female spy, that's Nina Klein, played by Tanya Einen, and she'll be popping up later in the interview series. But I really just wanted to present different types, because with spies, you're not supposed to know that they're spies. They're not supposed to look, they're not supposed to look like a spy the way that we expect it. That's why they're hiding. That's why they get secrets. It's because they don't look a particular way. And that's really what I wanted to do with Emily Byrne, and I'm really excited when I came across you in the process, and it was tough. There were some really, really strong actresses that were rolling for this, and in the end, it was a tough decision, but I really think you're going to bring it alive in some really cool ways.
Thanks. I appreciate the confidence, and I will not let you down.
No, if anyone's going to let anyone down, it's going to be me as the creator. I will do my absolute best, but it's like I know who the captain of this ship is, so if anyone lets anyone down, don't worry. It's definitely going to be me.
Well, if we're going down, I will play my violin next to you.
Oh, that's great. I'll be, what would I be? I think I'd be Victor Garber, pathetically looking at the clock.
The mantle.
Exactly, the mantle, and just sort of like, well, oh well, that was my bad. Sorry, guys. I guess I should have paid more attention. Don't worry, my daughter is a spy, though, so I'll get that going in a few years. That'll be safe.
Oh, man.
All right, so let's get back to you. Let's talk a little more about Renee, if we can. Alaska, Los Angeles. They're not only separated by, Oregon. That's actually quite a distance. What exactly was it that brought you to the decision to go from Alaska to L.A.? I'm always interested by this, because for me, Los Angeles is a place that I'd like to work and interact with, but I've never felt this desire I need to move there, I need to live there. And I get ribbed on it all the time by friends that I have out in L.A., but I'm always interested in this particular part of the process. What makes Renee go, hey, Alaska is great, this is my home, but I want to go to LA, I want to make a go of it there, it's time for me to go?
Yeah. Well, I guess my whole life has been, I shouldn't say my whole life, most of my life has predominantly been about acting and the next step and where to go. Hollywood is great. It has its own beauty that you have to find while you're here. I understand why a lot of people would not enjoy being here, but I love being here because I'm here for a reason, and I feel like I'm kicking ass, you know, like, and I'm working my butt off to do so, and I feel like if I were not, I would not be enjoying it, but I wouldn't be enjoying anywhere where I would, you know, end up if I wasn't able to do what I'm doing now. The decision to move has always happened, you know, it's always been there, and I actually was supposed to move, you know, at the end of like 2012. I think I was looking at moving at the end of that October. But I booked a student thesis film for the New York Film Academy, and I didn't have to move, but they're like, hey, we want to start doing rehearsals and for like a week, and then after that we're going to shoot for 2 weeks, maybe 3. But it wasn't every day, obviously. It was just a couple of days out of each week. And so I was like, well, I'll just move. I was going to move anyway at the end of the month. I'll just move a few weeks earlier. And that's what spurned that. Yeah.
All right, very interesting. When it comes to, like, one of the bigger things when it comes to this process, trying to do the crowdfunding, writing, casting, all that, a big theme I've experienced is definitely about challenges. And I like to talk about those because a lot of times a lot of people are worried that it's focusing on the negative, but it's like negativity is just saying like, oh crap, my name is not Freddie Wong, and so I should never try to crowdfund a series because I'm going to lose and pathetically fail. It's more about, okay, I don't have that momentum. What can I do to try to generate that, to try to pick that up? What is it I can do? I like talking about challenges because that's how you solve problems.
Right.
In your acting career and with your experiences, tell us about some of the challenges that have really, that have really tried to put a stop to you. What have been some of the most difficult challenges that you've had to work through? From Alaska to LA, doesn't matter what particular area, but what have been some of your most difficult roadblocks? What have you had to try to push yourself through when you didn't know whether you would or could do such a thing before you did?
I guess the most honest answer is the biggest challenge I've ever had to face is myself. I'm my own worst critic, you know. I don't stop myself because obviously I'm here and I'm doing everything I can, but you know, you're always in the back of your mind telling yourself, oh, that's not possible, you know, that can't happen. But I guess the biggest challenge is me inside my head punching myself in the face and being like, you be quiet, this is going to happen. Aside from that, outside challenges would be the fact that I don't look like a lot of people. I have a very unique face and profile, if you will, so a lot of the challenges, well, your acting's great, but you don't, we're looking for somebody more attractive, you know, taller, you know, like something that I can't control, you know, and, you know, a lot of people are like, well, are you going to ever get plastic surgery to fix these things? I'm like, no, this is my face, you know, it's something I will live with and love, you know, it's who I am. Other than that, I think other challenges would be, I mean, it's really just the right place at the right time, but I believe in putting myself in the right place at the right time, which is why I take classes, you know, and I do my own projects, I write my own things. I don't believe in being idle and waiting for the right time to come around. I believe in putting yourself in the right place and time. The biggest challenge in Alaska is, when you're there, I guess, is not a lot of big opportunities are provided to you other than the Indie Film Network. And the Indie Film Network up there is growing like gremlin strength, growing. You know, it's incredible how many people were involved when I first started up there to how many people are involved now, and I'm not even up. I mean, it's amazing how it's grown. But the challenge is getting your work seen. How do you get your work seen? Who's going to want to see your work? Why would they even care? You know, can you create something that's going to attract attention to your other projects as well? That, I think, in Alaska is one of the biggest challenges. Also, it's so new up there that you know, like everything new, it's a learning process, and you learn how to make connections, you learn how to burn bridges, you learn how to work equipment, you know, you learn how
I like that you put in, you learn how to burn bridges. That's all. You learn how to just screw up relationships, how to just professionally fail.
and you will never do it again. You know, the one time you do it and it's the wrong person, you know, you'll never do it again. But I mean, like everybody does, it's a business, and with business, there's always risks. There's advantages, but always risks. But coming down here, it's, you know, they're like, oh well, you know, there's so many people there doing exactly what you do. I'm like, yes, but there's no one else here that is me. So having
So take that, Hollywood. Pow!
yeah, man, me. No, I feel like, you know, everybody here is so unique and there's so much talent. You know, we're all here and we're all at the same level, essentially, because we've all made the move to be here. So we're all in the same pool. And I feel like one of the biggest challenges here is a lot of the mentality. Great people in Los Angeles and Hollywood, but a lot of mentality is, if you don't have anything to offer me, I don't have time for you, which is so unfortunate, because
Yes,
there's so
what have you
many.
done for me lately?
Right, and you know, that's not such a, I mean, it's not such a bad thing, but if you want to create a group, if you want to advance, if you want to help each other get better, to help your friends out, you know, you can't do that with that mentality. So, you know, one of the biggest challenges here has been able to find a group of people, which I found several. I've been very blessed at finding several people along the journey here that I can count on, and I've been collaborating with, and they're all people that if I could ever help them out in any way, you know, I would immediately throw them up for that. But that's a huge challenge here, and it makes you feel very alone too, because you're like, oh man, if only I knew how to do this, you know. I think that we wouldn't feel so isolated, surrounded by so many people, if more people had a more positive, you know, relationship outlook. You know.
Oh, sure. Now, do you think some of that comes from just how brutally competitive the industry really is, especially when you're in what amounts to the planetary capital of that industry?
Yes, I think so. I think the difference is like, for me, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. You know, obviously I would love to make it now and make it now, but this is my life. This is what I'll be doing till the day that I die. Hopefully I'll die on set, not in a horrible way, but like in a, you know, like that's where I would like to
Wow.
go. But I mean, it's all serious aside, that would be a horrible way to go. I would not
Yes,
want
that
that.
would be a terrible way to go, especially since I might potentially be having to insure you and hire
No,
you.
no, no, no. Hopefully many
Right.
years down the road.
That's
But I feel like, you know, here I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. What's the competition about? Why can't we help each other? Why can't we be happy for our friends when they book things that, you know, you're like, oh, I'd kill for that. You know, why, you know, I don't feel competitive with other people because there's no need to. There's a spot for all of us, and the right role will come along, the right project will be there. I just think people, they're so wrapped up in like the now that they don't realize that there's another project. There's more time, you know. So,
now, does that feel, at least in your opinion anyway, I mean, this is all your opinion, we're not experts on the psychology of the entire industry, but does that competitiveness feel like something that's brought to you from top down, or does it feel like it's built from like your peers when it comes to your acting community? Does it feel like the competitive aspect is being pushed by directors, by producers, by casting agents, to where they sort of want that nipping at each other, or does it just feel more like the natural? There's not enough roles for how many people are in my neighborhood, and that's sort of what brings the tension. Because you can be competitive and not have that sort of tension, but I think it's when too much of that sort of tension builds with that competitive aspect, that's where you sort of, you get the crummy feelings and the sort of negative stuff, the cloudy storm coming in a bit.
I think that it's like the seven chakras, you know, where the energy gets blocked at one, well, all the others feel the stress of it. You know, it's very much like this in this industry, where if one person is feeling the tension, all will. I think it comes from, I mean, there's competition in everything, and all that we do. We are a species that loves to compete. So I think it definitely comes from above, but it also comes from below. You know, it's we're all sitting together, looking at each other. We all look the same in the room. We're about the same in the room because we've all been called in for this casting. And then you see the casting directors, and they're very nice, and they feel the tension because they have to get not only the best of the best, but then they have to make sure that the people they're sending, the directors are going to pick, and the directors have competition, and the producers have competition because they want money, which deservedly so because they've put their money in. And I think it's a very hard business to stay positive in, and I think that the tension will build. I think the tension, like competing with yourself, happens all the time too. So I don't think that there's a fix, but I think that there's tension everywhere in this industry. You cannot escape it. I just think it's how you deal with it.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I think that's a lot of even outside of the acting industry. It's a lot about learning how to deal with those things as opposed to just letting them grate on your nerves. From my particular background, I've always been like born and raised a poor kid, and it's always been there. And there are those who are just like, well, there's no way I'm ever going to have an opportunity to do X, Y, Z because I'm in this sort of socioeconomic status. But one of the things I was taught was that, very much like you said, it's you have to try to make your own way as best as you can. I mean, it's not. Once in a while, there's the person where lightning strikes and they catch it in a bottle, and you're always going to have that. There's always going to be that luck factor where someone's going to hit it big and they're going to explode, and that's just that's a little bit of luck that no one can control. But I very much believe that, especially with the democratization of filmmaking technology. I mean, you said it yourself. Up in Alaska, there, the indie film industry is booming, and people are making more and more projects. 10, 12 years ago, it was a luxury to have, the camcorder and the ridiculously expensive video card that had like up to 5 megs of video processing power. Like, it was just like, whoa, that guy got that $900 video editing card that he has to put in there, and it like sticks out of your PC because it's so friggin' huge. It weighs like 40 pounds. But that was filmmaking at the time, and it was this magical luxury. And to see in the past decade where it's just like you can get HD cameras with great resolution. I got 2 Canon HG10s that are high definition cameras, and they're like $700 a piece. I picked up a set of tripods. I picked up, Pinnacle Sony, or it was Pinnacle. That's what it was under Avid, but Pinnacle software to just put together stuff. You couldn't do that easily at all 10 years ago. So, you can make your own way now. Now, the challenge is, how do you cut through the noise so that you can get your stuff seen by enough people? And it's always rough because, momentum begets momentum, and there's that catch-22 to where it's almost like you have to have momentum already in order to get the momentum you need. There's a experience. You're probably not a big pro wrestling fan. I definitely am. And there's always this weird like cognitive dissonance where, in order for a particular wrestling character to get more TV time, they have to become popular with the audience. But they can't become popular with the audience unless they get more TV time. And the question is, how do they get that to get that?
Oh, well, I've confronted that here as an actor. They're like, well, you don't have, you've got some, featured extra credits or whatever, but you don't really have any real credits. And I'm like, how does one acquire credits in order to get credits? It's a silly process. But I think, I don't know, I feel like the more you freak out about how does one attain this versus, just trying to be better and to hone and to, when your name is picked, you are able to take it and run with it. That's the hard part, I think, is not freaking out, because it's a very shaky ground that you walk on in this industry, but I feel like it's only shaky if you look at the ground, just keep walking straight, focus, it's so dumb. Oh my gosh, I would not want to listen to me right now. So sorry if anybody's watching.
No, stop. Last episode I was talking with Allison Vanor about how I eat candy cigarettes and Subway sandwiches, so let's just I'll be the one that says dumb crap that then you don't have to worry. Your stuff's fine.
Oh.
Well, she was just saying like the stereotypical, the producer stereotype is like the guy in the leisure suit smoking cigars and drinking martinis, and she's like, yeah, I smoke cigars and drink martinis all the time. And I'm like, well, in my position, I eat candy cigarettes and Subway sandwiches.
Well, those are both very
I
fun
get.
things to eat. I ate Subway just yesterday.
Oh, there it is. Then I'm all about it. I am all good. I'm not alone, basically. I'm all about that. But yeah, I mean, I think with the way that filmmaking is democratized, we have an ability now to make whatever it is we want in a way that we couldn't do a decade ago, and that's huge. A lot of people, especially adults that are younger than me, they're just getting into their 20s, they were already born in a world where that technology was getting more and more prevalent, like when they were teenagers, when they were, almost preteens. Now everyone has a badass camera on a cell phone. But to be able to see what I could do now that I couldn't do a decade ago just blows my mind. I mean, it's just the sheer capacity. I made 4 years of a comedy web series poking fun at vampires. I couldn't have done that when I was 17, 18. I mean, I was making Star Trek parodies with my buddy Jeff Harwady in each other's bedrooms during high school, and that was such a long, hard process because something as simple as nonlinear editing programs were like the gold standard, the impossible thing to achieve. So our editing was literally hitting pause on the record button on the camcorder itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've experienced that? Was that an editing style used as well?
Yeah. Well, my father had the recorder, the big one. And I remember we were in North Carolina, and I was raised by a librarian. She raised me right to read as much as you can. And I read Harriet the Spy. Oh, and my mind just exploded with, like, that's who I want to be. And I remember we went to go see Harriet the Spy in theaters, and it was so exciting to me to see it, because then I came home after that, and I put together a spy bag, like, to carry on you at all times. And my father, oh, what a saint, he recorded it, and I've seen it since then, and it's that type of thing where it was like, okay, well, I was like, oh, at the end, I was like, oh, I forgot to talk about this. He's like, it's okay, let's talk about it now, kind of thing. Yeah, I wish I could have advanced my thinking to pick up a camera myself when I was younger. I mean, I break a lot of stuff, so that's probably why I wasn't allowed to.
Well, in Jeff and I's case, it was very much a case of we just absolutely, and to this day we still do. We're still huge Star Trek fans, but we were always creating like our ridiculous versions of Star Trek storylines. And so when Jeff had the camera and stuff and was doing different things and shooting with it and started playing around with it, the idea that we could finally commit our glorious Star Trek plot lines to a camera was just too magical to resist. Yeah, we had magical stuff like this awesome villain who was trying to basically create. We made fun of the Genesis effect, if you remember from Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. The Genesis torpedo is what they used to like create a world out of like a dead planet. Well, in ours, we just had this ridiculous thing, this plot device called the disco effect, and what it did, it turned a planet into a disco ball. And that was, it was pretty sweet. It was a funky, fresh planet, and it was pretty awesome. And I had to play like the president of the planet, who was just this ridiculously funky 70s stereotype. But I was proud of that performance. I could have won an Oscar if only I would have thought to have submitted it to the Academy.
To the Academy? Why don't you try and submit it now?
I can't. It's too late. It's not the qualifying year for that project. It's just they have rules, Renee. You gotta follow the rules. You can do it.
Rules.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, rules. Thanks a lot, 1996. You piece of crap. God, 96. You ruined my life.
What was
But no, it was just the idea that we could make it, and it was just actually being able to commit it. And now when it's just, you see some of the amazing stuff that pops up all over the place. Vimeo, YouTube videos with amazing special effects and fight scenes and costuming and all this kind of stuff. And you look at me and Jeff's Star Trek parodies when we were teenagers in high school, and you look at how far it's come, you understand how magical it is. And so that's why I love the democratization of the technology, which is needed, because that's how new storytellers get a chance to tell stories. You don't have to wait for the studio executive to say it's okay. Make it yourself. But again, the new challenge that crops up is there's more material, and you have to try to cut through, and you're competing with all the other material for limited eyeballs. They have a limited number of hours in the day. And so the new challenge isn't, can I make this? The new challenge is, how do I get people to see this? And I'm willing to fully embrace that challenge if the audience, if the people watching, or our friends, our family, our networks, if you're willing to help us create Apotheosis, I'm willing to embrace that challenge. I didn't create this show on a napkin as a back thought to something. I know the challenges that are ahead for making it work, for making the show popular. And I want to tackle those challenges. I want to take that on. It's about marketing. It's about getting a campaign where people need to care about the story itself. And that's what I want to strive to do. I want you to get to know our cast, get to know our crew, get to know the production team, get to know Renee, our awesome Alaskan. Exactly. Get to know these people and know that, we want to bring this story to you. That's what we want to do. But I have done everything I can. Our actors have done absolutely everything that they can do, competing for roles, going through that process with me. We've done everything we can, and we've now come to a point where you are the only person that's going to bring this alive. That's it. The show is in your hands. And this is now the last few hours of the day, like T-minus 21. But we only have that window to really pull this together. There's scheduling involved. There's who knows where the cast will be if we were to try a campaign again months down the road. This is not something that is easily done. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of work that I am damn proud to have done, to have grind through, to put together the cast that we have. Really excited about their acting ability, their look, the kind of characters and ecosystem that we can present with you. And it is now completely up to you. 20 days, $25,000. This show is a lightning rod, and we need your spark. We need you to come help us, come be our lightning. You get to be the hero this time. Why don't you come and save our day? There's no capes involved. We don't have any sweet masks or cowls. But you will definitely be our hero, and you're going to be part of building something that I think will have a really nice impact on the sort of storytelling ecosystem that you have in web TV. You don't need Netflix to be able to tell a story like House of Cards. You just need the support of people that are willing to help you bring it alive. And you can tell complex stories, different stories, especially in this space. We have freedom that you don't have the higher up you go on the ladder. So come on by and help us out. So now it's time for a very important, serious question for Renee.
Yes, absolutely.
Northern Exposure.
Oh, God.
Northern Exposure is a very accurate portrayal of Alaskan life, or the most accurate portrayal of Alaskan life in the history of history. Your answer, go.
That's a very loaded question. I would have to say the outfits alone, definitely Alaskan. Sure, why not? No.
All right, so...
Well, I mean, yeah, beer. That's a thing.
All right, so I've been able to browbeat Renee Daw into agreeing with me that Northern Exposure is a 100% accurate portrayal of Alaskan life. Excellent.
Why not?
I really like blind obedience from my actors. It's probably one of my most favorite traits, is that they just go along with whatever ridiculous crap I spew. It just makes me feel like more of a man. I'm not even gonna lie. It just makes me feel more accomplished that I can get blind obedience. It's like Mad Men.
Yeah, such a silly attempt at a television show.
Well, it's just like the things that they did with like Alaska it's what they did with Fargo. It's what they did with when a show takes place in the Midwest. It's always blows my mind how even the most like slightly rural area suddenly becomes ultra bumpkinville with accents.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, Alaska is at least I would like to say about 10 years behind, the rest of the country. But that's what makes Alaska so magical. A lot of it is untouched and gorgeous. Unfortunately, stereotypes sometimes do come from a very, very small truth. There are
Rob
places.
Morrow? So are you saying we have Rob Morrow to blame for the Alaskan stereotype? Rob.
There's some small truths where you laugh because you're like, oh, I've met that person, But to be fair, Alaska, it's one of the most beautiful and magical places you can go. Lots of people think so, but that's not a handbook for the state.
Okay, so what you're saying is when I visit Alaska, do not use my DVDs of Northern Exposure as my guide to traveling Alaska. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No.
Well, then why in the hell did I buy the damn things? Crap.
Because it was a really cool cover.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I bought it for the cover. I was trying to understand the Alaskan people better, and now my illusions are shattered.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Well, this show ended on a shitty note. That's great. All right, well, that's what we have for this evening. Renee, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.
Just remember, folks, that Renee Daw is the actress we have for our freelance spy, Emily Byrne. Everyone that I've picked for this project is really capable and is going to bring something really magical to the execution of this project. And so it's just you that we need to help us create it, help us to make this real, and help Renee to bring Emily Byrne to life. We literally cannot do that without your assistance. So we'll have the links in the bottom there. There's been a link with the live show. Come on by, see if you can help. We don't need a bunch of $1,000 donors, $1, $3, $5. Every single dollar counts. It also counts on the algorithms of Kickstarter because the more people that pay attention to the page and interact with it, their servers, their systems, their algorithms pick that stuff up and start pushing it a little more because they're like, okay, something about this page is attracting attention. So you got a couple bucks. I know there's been a lot with the Ice Bucket Challenge going around. A lot of people have been donating for that. We're not looking for $100 donations. You got a couple bucks. You got $5. Would you get a movie ticket? Do you want a 70-minute spy thriller with superhumans for that movie ticket instead? That's what we got in store for you if you're able to make a pledge and donate to our Kickstarter campaign. So, for Ms. Renee Daw, our native Alaskan. Wait, another question. If an Alaskan smokes marijuana, does that make them a baked Alaskan?
Ha! Oh,
yes! Pun boom. Hashtag pun boom. There's going to be a lot of those in this talk show.
A lot of marijuana.
Talking the Tightrope is also a pun if you're not paying attention. So for Ms. Renee Daw, I am James Fernandez. I am the man to blame here at Tightrope. Just about 20 full days now to help us with our campaign. We have a lightning rod. We need you to be our lightning. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, and we will see you again next Tuesday, where our guest for the East Coast show will be Mr. Tony Semenik, and our guest for the West Coast show will be Miss Jessica Nicole Webb. Thank you very much. Have a good night.